welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to meet you.
Exciting times. I was like, right before we got on the air, I told you exciting times. We see you as Sean on Apple TV Plus Shrinking. It's a great series so far. What's your thoughts on all this? I watched the first 2 episodes with my wife over the weekend, and I wish there was more. Now I got to wait weekly for it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for taking the time. I'm excited. People seem to be laughing, which is great. A few people seem to be crying, also great, because we intended to have people do both. So
right. That's right. That's right. We're gonna jump a little bit more into the series in a few minutes, but I was doing some research. I knew everything. You grew up in Florida, right?
that's correct.
And I saw you played football. I'm a huge football fan. I
Oh,
gotta know
cool.
who you're rooting for in the Super Bowl now.
Hey, look, I'm gonna be real. As soon as I started acting, I started watching movies and TV. So I haven't been like a true football fan like I was back in high school. But usually, primarily, I was a college watcher, and I usually tried to watch like FSU and UM and all the schools down in my area. As far as the NFL goes right now, I just know my father-in-law had his heart broken because he's a Cowboys fan through and through. So that one broke his heart. So as a family, we're all recovering for him.
There you go. So what made you get into the acting? How come you didn't push yourself more to football?
Well, if I was good enough, we probably wouldn't have been having this conversation today. But I just didn't have what they call chops. I had heart, I had size, but I did not have talent or athletic ability. And I didn't have nothing. It's just like I saw truly great people on my team and realized the distance between me and them really couldn't be covered by work alone. I would need to give up every spare minute I had to training to get to a place where I could go to college for free because of football, which was my only goal playing football. But I fell into acting because my parents were just like, if they saw that their kids were good at anything, they would just try to push them. And they're like, hey, man, like, you're pretty good at talking. Go, like, do some drama stuff. So I did that. And then the next year, I forgot to change my elective. And by that point, the class got, like, really intense. And then I just kind of fell in love. We were doing, like, Shakespeare and Greek texts. So a lot of the classic stuff got me really excited.
That's awesome. So what was the plan at first? Was it acting, theater, TV, film? What pushed you?
The first thing I wanted to do was draw that little Disney head in the corner of the screen. Bam, 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 bam. Hi, I'm Luke Tennie. Like I just thought I saw them doing that, and I was like, man, I could do that. And I saw myself doing like goofy comedies and all of that. And then I learned about the craft and really learned about theater and what it means to understand classical text. And that really kind of reshaped my mentality. And I just had the desire to do anything so long as it helped me improve. But when I was in school, that meant drama and a lot of classic text period pieces. And I didn't really get to do comedy until just before Shrinking. The job I did before Shrinking was my only comedy. And I'm grateful that they hired me because then I got to do Shrinking, which was my second comedy. So hopefully I can spend a lot more of my career making people laugh.
Is that your goal? Would you rather do more comedy than drama or a little bit of both?
I prefer to do both. And up till now, it's only been drama. So I'm hoping that it evens out so where I can spend some time in both. Because I feel like it's like any sort of athletic type deal where it's like you can be strong, you can be fast, but unless you apply it in the sport, you're just going to lose your momentum. So I feel like the more I'm in both, the better it is for me as a performer and the better it is for whoever hires me because I'll be prepared.
Is it easy to transition from drama into comedy?
From what I've learned as a performer, there isn't much difference, at least with the characters that I've played. It's always about the truth. And usually for the characters in a comedy, it's not funny to them. So there's really not much difference in how I believe it's supposed to be played. But then I go and I work with like the goats like frickin' Jason.
Right.
And he makes it seem so seamless, which has me second guessing. But the more I can work with him and learn from him and catch all the golden nuggets he's dropping, I feel like the better I'll do in improving my comedic chops. So I say you do it the same way, but I don't know. The greats may have something different to say.
There you go. With comedy also, have you ever thought about like improv or anything?
Well, I did do a little improv.
Okay.
and I wasn't good. I found it very challenging for me to be in a space with no script. But when it comes to improvisation on set, I feel more confident doing that because I didn't make the story, I didn't make the characters,
Mm.
and that kind of improv to me feels like what an actor should do, which is paying attention to the moment. And if new things come, you react and you respond accordingly. So
Right.
I'm cool with that. But that like sort of ASCAT or Upright Citizens Brigade, like that stuff, I don't think I'm cut out for that, man.
So no SNL for you in the future.
We gonna see. I'm not gonna say no, but I definitely respect what they do and acknowledge that it's far more challenging than preparing a script.
Hey, you could always host it.
Hey, I'm down for that too. That I
There
know
you
I could do. I could say words somehow, be nice. I could do all of that. But what they do is truly, truly in a realm of its own.
So you've been in the industry for a few years now. What do you think's been like your favorite project you've worked on?
Shrinking.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
But that's not because everything else I've done hasn't been awesome. I mean, my first gig was absolutely amazing. I got to do another TV show a few years ago called Deadly Class, and that will
Yeah,
forever my heart. I loved doing that show.
that show had a huge following.
Yeah, man. I really, oh, it's just bringing a comic book character to life is something that people dream of. And not every part allows you to be able to go to Comic-Con and do a convention.
Yeah.
And I also, that was executive produced by the Russo brothers, who are legends. So I got to meet them. I got to work with Benedict Wong. I made one of my closest friends on that show, Benjamin Wadsworth, and our bros. We just went to the premiere together. I'm always kicking it with him and his kid and his wife. So that show gave me a lot of things I'm very, very grateful for. That's actually a close second to Shrinking, if not a tie.
So what's Luke's ultimate goal? What are you kind of hoping for? Maybe do like a goal of like a role you want to play someday, or behind the scenes?
Well, I'd love to be able to produce and write at a high level, like Brett, Jason, and Bill. Those guys are pretty prime examples. Brett and Jason, in that they're also actors and writers. Bill, in that he's a creative genius who can have a show like Shrinking and Ted Lasso going at the same time. What a monster. Right. That dude is a beast. Yeah. So that's definitely like peak. I'll know I've made it when I can't imagine any place higher than creating content and casting people who I love and respect. But then aside from that, just as an actor, I love theater so much. One of the first plays I saw on Broadway was Raisin in the Sun with Denzel Washington. I remember finishing that show thinking, I either have to quit right now or give my all to this, because the difference between me sitting in this chair and that dude is too great for me to do a disservice to this craft we call acting. So, but I'm still here. So obviously he inspired me.
And that's a good person to look up to. He's one of the best out there.
Yeah, that guy he's amazing. He does it all. He does on camera work very well, and he does theater work very well. But I'd love to be able to do theater at that level for sure.
Who knows? Would you ever want to work with him if you can, in a heartbeat?
Yes, sign me up. I auditioned for a project with him a couple years ago, and I was so heartbroken. I remember not getting that part, and then I watched the performer, and I was like, okay, well, that dude, yeah, he got me beat. The part went to Ashton Sanders, who is popular for his work in Moonlight. And he was amazing in Equalizer 2 as well. So I was just happy to see that. Well, I might have been in my feelings, but the movie's definitely better with that young man in it.
Hey, you'll have a purpose. You'll be something else. Shrinking, who knows? You can keep going.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying my time on this show. I'm just grateful I got the job. Honestly, I'm really, really grateful that they hired me.
Let's jump right into that, man. How did you get approached for the series? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to be clear, I was not approached for this series. Technically, we approached them. The way it works is my agents submit me, and then they determine whether or not they want to have me do an audition. And that's how it works at my level. So I'm newer. I don't really have a name. That's usually how it works. Now at the top, when they cast in Ted McGinley and cast in Jessica Williams, I'm pretty sure they hit those people up. But I was just happy to get an audition. But yeah, the process is, it's just step by step. So I submitted my self-tape, and then we did some callbacks, and this was in the heat of COVID. So it was all Zoom. So I'm doing chemistry reads with Jason, and I met with James Ponsolt over Zoom. And it was just this process that we kind of just got used to. We're sitting in front of the computer a lot like you and I am now. This is actually my setup when I do my self-tapes and my Zoom reads, and we'll perform. And hopefully they think that you're right for the part. And in my case, they did. So I'm glad to be here.
Were you nervous the first time you sat with the table read with Jason?
I still am.
You still are.
I'm still nervous. Every scene, every moment. But Jason has such a warm, kind energy. It's not like he's working with an actor he's auditioning with and thinking, I hope they're terrible. No, like he's hoping that you are the person for the job. And you can feel that. And I think that really helped me get a good callback session and producer session in before they eventually went on to cast me.
Yeah. And I love the bond so far between Sean and Jimmy. I love that. I think it's like you guys are really best friends. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it gets a little buddy comedy type deal, right? What I love so much about what the writers did is obviously we have Jason teaching Sean how to manage his anger, but in a way we have Sean teaching Jimmy how to show up. And I think that sort of dichotomy creates a trust, because it's one thing to learn from somebody. You trust them to a degree, but when two people are learning from each other, there's a much higher level of trust there.
What was the description you were given as Sean first after you got the role?
Good question. If I had my email open, I could read the character breakdown, but I just remember it was like, this dude's angry. He's an angry young man. He's very explosive. He's got a hair trigger, and his anger turns to violence. And it's funny to me because I usually go out for parts with that sort of breakdown, and I'm one of the happiest dudes I've ever met.
I can tell.
So I'm a very jubilant man. But for some reason, those characters to me make a lot of sense. And I think I was just encouraged to find that the casting department thought that I wore Sean well enough to become the performer who plays him. So again, glad to be here.
Yeah. And we can tell he's an Army vet. Is he suffering from PTSD? Have they said that on the show? Okay. They didn't say it in the first episode, did they? I'm trying to remember.
Well, I think they're working on making sure we don't, like, at least from my perspective, I think they want to make sure that there are a couple of things that may be up in the air so that you can assume them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I definitely am playing Sean as somebody who's suffering with that specific disorder that also on top of it requires anger management. So I definitely, the way I'm playing him, he's definitely got PTSD for sure.
Yeah. So how do you prepare to play a role like this?
Research, whether that's Googling, YouTube, or asking folks. For me, all three. I think that the latter is the most beneficial, because when it comes to performing, you can't tell the audience your homework. You just say the words in the character. You don't get to tell people, well, what I was doing here, that's not how it works. They watch it, they develop their own ideas and opinions, and your performance is just up for interpretation. But in my case, I thought anecdotal evidence was a bit more beneficial because of that. So I could interpret the stories that I heard and then do my best to bring them justice,
Did Jason or even like Bill ask you, like, give you like, hey, how do you want to play this character? Do you have any thoughts?
Yes. And I was very surprised.
Okay.
I was actually in New York City a couple of weeks after I had been cast, and I had a bunch of scruff. It wasn't like, I had some help from my barber who made it look much nicer. Shout out to Skip, my man. Does my hair real well. But I remember being real scruffy and kind of unkempt. And I had to go in for reshoots for something else where the character was clean. And I called them and I was like, hey guys, what do you think I should do? And then they said, what do you think you should do? I was like, wow. Me? And I was like, well, I think Sean should look like somebody who's struggling. I don't think he should walk in with a fresh lineup, a fade, looking all clean. He should look like he's not really taking good care of himself. And as you've seen, they went with that and they played with it. Like, I definitely don't have a clean lineup. I don't have any sort of grooming on my face, and between you and me, I took it upon myself to eat a few more burgers as well, so that Sean looked like he didn't care, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can tell like he doesn't look like he's bad either. He just looks like he's lost at the moment.
Hey, that is so encouraging to hear. Mission accomplished. I wanted that sort of middle ground so that when Sean woke up and looked in the mirror, he wasn't like, oh my goodness, what a piece of crap.
Yeah.
He
Because
was
he's
able
not a
to
bad
fool
person.
himself.
He's not a bad person.
I don't think he is. I just think he was able to fool himself into saying, it's no big deal. It's no big deal. And he needs to be able to appear in a way where he can buy, it's no big deal. I don't look that bad. But the truth is, if he's not focused on improvement at all, he's only getting worse.
How do you describe now like the relationship that so far in the first 2 episodes between Jimmy and Sean?
I would say that Sean has a newfound respect for Jimmy. Mm-hmm. And when you get to the second episode, you can see why Sean can really lean on Jimmy more so than he has on his family as of late. You can see he doesn't feel comfortable asking them for anything. And you can also see Sean comes from a nuclear family. He's got support. He's got people who want to take care of him, but he's struggling with accepting help from them. And you're going to see a bit more of why later on in the season. But I think that Sean has respect for Jimmy, whereas initially Jimmy kind of squandered that with the first meeting. Yeah. And now he's sort of earned Sean's trust and respect. And that goes a long, long way for a dude like Sean.
And how often do you see a doctor take you in under his roof after you have to get thrown out of the house?
Well, in this case, shoot, we know
you don't see that often in real life.
I don't think we see that at all, or at least we're not supposed to, you know. But Jimmy is doing this not by the book. He's trying to fight for something new that he believes is effective. And sometimes that means crossing the line. And I think in his case, it's the right line to cross to take care of somebody who needs some help.
And Sean has two special scenes I consider the first episode. The first one is when that guy bumps into you at the restaurant. Was it outside the restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
And you choose to call Jimmy, pretty much saying, I'm fighting him, like, I don't want to get into a fight. Help me, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then the second scene, of course, is when Jimmy gets jumped at the soccer game by another patient, and then you jump in to help Jimmy.
Yeah.
And your light turned on, pretty much.
Yep, pretty much. And I think and this is why I love the writers so much, because, you know, I had the first script for a while, and then the second script, I got second. But when I was breaking down Sean's arc, the coolest thing for me is somebody who learned to celebrate every little victory. Sean hasn't learned that yet, so he has to learn that from Jimmy. He sees himself as getting angry as an L. And then it takes Jimmy to say, hey, celebrate, jump up and down with me. For Sean to recognize, oh, I didn't get violent. So although he's still feeling that anger, he was able to choose nonviolence. Also, that dude was so nice. I know he looked mean. He was such a good dude. It was a great day on set. Yeah. But then when we get to the arc, this is the first time Sean isn't fighting because of what someone did to him.
Right.
He's fighting to protect someone he respects. Look at that lovely arc that they did there. And then throughout the second episode, we're seeing how greatly that was appreciated. And oh man, I love these writers.
How excited were you when you're reading script after script for each episode? How excited were you getting?
The same level of excitement that you may have waiting for next week. It's just what's going to happen next. Because when we get in the scripts, I don't know. I'm watching it in my head when I'm reading.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh man, what's going to happen? I want the best for these characters, but at the same time, I do like being entertained. So I'm like, where's the tea at? You know, I'm trying to get a sip.
What's been the feedback so far from like family, friends that tuned in, or even just fans, random fans?
Oh, well, from my close family, I grew up Baptist, and I'm not somebody who likes using foul language.
Right.
You seen the first 2 episodes?
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoa! And I had to come clean with them. I was like, guys, I had to practice some of those words in the mirror because I just don't be saying them often. You know, like I said, I'm a happy man. Like, I don't be trying to make nobody uncomfortable, you know? But from a lot of the fans, I just see a lot of passion for, one, seeing Jason, because a lot of these people feel like this guy who they watched when they're growing up. Now he's a dad. He's playing a dad. So it's like new for them. And it's cool for me to be excited for everyone to see something that I've been able to see on set, for over the past year. Now they get to see it. And also Harrison Ford.
Right.
So there's that. People are very stoked, and I'm glad that they are.
Please tell me we're going to see a scene, at least with you and Harrison.
I'm not going to say anything about that, but I will do this.
There you go. Awesome. So we're expecting 10 episodes, right? Is that what it is? 10 episodes?
we got 10. We shot 10, so you'll be seeing 10. And there's a lot of fun stuff coming. Not just for Sean, but for everyone. If you've watched any Bill Lawrence Doozer show, you know that he's great at pairing unlikely people together, picking people from all different corners of the cast and thrusting them together. So I can just say Bill's back at it again.
Oh yeah.
And you guys are gonna be, I think you guys are gonna be happy with it.
Yeah. Especially like, he made Scrubs. Who doesn't like Scrubs?
Yeah, man. Dude's a legend. And you know what? You know what I like about him? He knows it.
Yeah.
He's not like faux. He's not like sort of fake humble. He just says thank you. I'm like, hey man, you real good at your job. He's like, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. Thank you. It's both. It's thank you and I know, and I freaking love it. Because as a newer performer, I feel gratitude, but I still feel a bit of that imposter syndrome. So looking up to somebody like Bill, I'm like, I can't wait till I acquire that. When somebody's like, hey, good work. And I'm like, thank you. And in my heart, I also know, well, they wouldn't have called cut, wrap it up if it was bad,
Right.
So,
right. Is there any advice that Bill or Jason gave you before you jumped on this project and started working?
Something that, well, I'm always trying to steal from everybody, but not really any direct advice, but just from watching Bill work.
Yeah.
I'm an emerger myself. I'm newer to that than I am to acting. Yeah. But watching Bill on set, it was like watching somebody care for this thing. Like, what's a good analogy? Maybe it's like a bonsai tree, Okay. How you're supposed to prune those things, and you're supposed to really kind of put so much care into those things.
Yeah.
But you also have to know which branches to cut. And there were a couple of days on set where it may have been a line or maybe a whole little arc that to me looks like a really interesting branch. And Bill's just like, pop! And I'm like, whoa. But he's doing that because the health of the tree is way more valuable than just one interesting branch. It's going to benefit the entire project for him to cut this. To me, it looks like a great idea. I don't have the discernment that he has yet.
Yeah.
But he goes, I'm going to sacrifice this for the greater good of the show. And that is a particular skill to watch happen on set because it's his script and he is tearing that up because he cares so much about the overall health of the show. It's really impressive to watch.
Has he said anything about how many ideas, like how many seasons he thinks he could do with this show?
Well, I heard from Jason once. I can't remember which number he used.
Yeah.
It was either 2 or 3, but he was like, let's do such and such and see how we feel. I was like,
for the new guy, you want more.
Yeah, for sure. And I just love working on comedy with all these legends. Again, glad to be here. Ooh.
That's awesome. Luke, now what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about that you're coming out or you're about to work on?
Oh, thank you for asking. So I just, right after Shrinking, I went and shot a film called The Nickel Boys, which is based off of a book by Colson Whitehead, set in the 60s about a reform school that actually was real in Florida that was around for 100 years. And it turns out that they were abusing their students. They were just mistreating them left and right. I'm talking crimes against humanity type stuff. And when the news came out, it seemed like not too many people cared. And Colson wrote The Nickel Boys to raise the awareness for stuff like this. And I do have a sort of frustration with how frequently I see African-American stories in particular that involve us revisiting our trauma being celebrated over our slice of life pieces of work. And it's been a frustrating thing for me. So when I first saw it, I was challenged, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to work on something like this, and realized it's from Florida. I'm from Florida.
Yeah.
I had never heard about it before. And the school was around when I was in elementary school and middle school and high school. and I knew nothing about it. I was like, if I didn't know about it, being from Florida, and I could have very well been sent there, I definitely want to be a part of raising the awareness. So I sent in the best tape I could, and I'm glad that they gave me the job. So that's up next for me. And I'm working on a play, and I got a short that's doing the festival circuit right now. That short is called Jade.
That's amazing. Hey, you got to keep going up, my friend.
Got to keep climbing, you know?
That's right. Look, how can the listeners, the viewers now find you on social media, keep up with you with shrinking and films and writing?
I'm at Luke Tennie on everything. I think Luke.Tennie, maybe. Either way, if you see these teeth, you know it's me. I'll be smiling a lot, so look out for those.
That's awesome. Luke, I want to thank you for giving a few minutes today. This was great.
Thank you. It's been nice chopping it up with you, man.